grownfolksmusic.com.
Hey, what's up? This is Vivian Green, and you are hanging out with grownfolksmusic.com. Peace and love.
Vivian Green, welcome back to grownfolksmusic.com.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
The new album is Love Absolute.
Yes, love
Talk,
absolute.
talk about that title.
It Love Absolute includes lots of things that I absolutely love. Whether it's my self love or love of my people or the love of jazz music or the love that I have of writing songs at the piano organically first before I let anybody do anything to it, which is what I did for most of this album. Yeah, like it's just like love of my personal life and how it's important for me to keep it private. Yeah, just like love of lots of different things.
One thing I noticed and I've been wanting to ask you is since the 90s or so, producers have been putting his or her signature on songs, for instance, like Dark Child and Bad Boy. There's sort of an introduction when the songs come on. For the past couple of albums now, there's something that you say, and then you say Kwame's name after that. What are you, and it's kind of becoming a signature in some of your songs. What are you saying?
Well, that's not me, so
Oh, that's not you? Oh, okay.
that's Kwame's tag that he puts before. He doesn't put it before every song on my albums because then I guess you would hear it before every song. So he's
It's a
kind of selecting
couple.
songs it comes before, but I believe that's his friend who is Japanese, and
Hmm.
she's saying is scientist of sound. That's what she's saying, but in Japanese.
I've always wanted to know that. I thought it was you.
Well, it says
Uh,
scientist of sound, Kwame, but in Japanese.
let's talk a little bit about the album, if we might. If I can just name off a few songs, and then maybe you can tell us about what went behind the song. The first thing I noticed about You Send Me, or I guess the last thing because it's at the end, I noticed that slight nod to George Michael's father figure. Is he an influence? Is
Absolutely, absolutely. Love George Michael. Love that Faith album, but love others as well. Yeah, like it was the chords kind of fall in that same place. So I thought it'd be super cool if we could somehow put that ending into You Send Me. And it's so funny because I think like people are not catching it. So I don't know why though, but because to me it's so obvious. But
you
yeah,
you have to be of a certain, probably of a certain
I guess.
age.
I mean, I guess you do, but even those people aren't catching it either. So I don't know, but I love that song. I love that album so much. Definitely a big part of the music I listened to when I was growing up. And yeah, I wanted to throw that in there. It made sense because it fell, like I said, the chords fall in the same place, so it made sense to put it there.
I think maybe people aren't catching it because of what you just said. You said he's a part of all the music you used to listen to, and maybe some of the ears aren't quite as broad. So
Probably.
to hear that, but I absolutely
You
loved
heard it.
him.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited you asked me. You're the first person to ask me that. So yeah.
Yay! I'm glad you put it in there because I absolutely adored him and Wham, and I got to see him in concert. So that I'm telling my age now. The next song I want to talk about is the interlude. He didn't hurt me. That was deep. Can you explain that or talk about it without giving too much away?
Sure. Um, so the song that comes after this interlude is called "This Love," and "This Love" is speaks on how we sometimes are too afraid of a relationship going to the next level or being vulnerable to a person. Maybe you're so afraid because of a past situation and you haven't healed from it. And so you're ending something that could have been great and you're ending it on purpose because you just weren't ready because you were afraid or you felt like, hey, let me bow out before he hurts me, you know. So that's what this
Mhm.
love is about. And then the woman realizes like, wow, I messed this up, So that's what the song is about. And the three women, the three generations of women, a very young woman, to say she's 19 or 20, and then a woman my age, 30s or 40s, and then a senior. And they all speak on how they let something go because they were too afraid, you know, to embrace it. So the first one says he didn't. The young girl says he didn't hurt me. He could not hurt me. I hurt him. So you can't hurt you. That means you have a steel wall up that it's not even possible for anyone to permeate through it. So that's a result of something else, and you're to the point where you rather hurt somebody else before they even get through that wall. As a young girl, which can happen. Which that totally happened to me. And then you have the 30s, 40s lady who's saying, "Oh, he's doing all these really nice things. Like he's constantly asking me, where do I want to go? How do I feel? Do I need anything?" But it's turning her off because she doesn't want she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want to like that stuff and become vulnerable to it, and then find herself vulnerable to him. So she's complaining about it, like, "Ugh, why don't you just leave me alone?" And then um, the senior says, they say you should find a man who loves you more. Well, he definitely loved me more, and I was cruel to him. So I just think all those things are so real and true to life for each stage, and it makes the song kind of universal for any age of woman that will be able to relate to it. So yeah, and my sister actually wrote the interludes, which is
Oh,
really
okay.
fun because my sister's a teacher and she's really smart and creative, and I just figured it would be nice to have. I told her what I wanted her to do, but I gave her the freedom to write, the
Mhm.
words as as she saw fit, and like her first take for both of the interludes were just perfect. I was like, this is perfect. I love it. Let's do it. So yeah.
What I liked about it was a little different in the sense that we don't always hear those conversations, right? Like usually there's songs, whole albums,
Hmm.
movies, novels dedicated to how a man has done a woman completely wrong. So I thought it was very interesting and deep to hear a woman actually admit. I just thought it was a different perspective, a different
Yeah, for
angle.
sure. Yeah, that she messed it up, that she did wrong. Maybe she even hurt him on purpose, but anything to not, to not be in a relationship with this guy where she became vulnerable and and accepted his love. So yeah, and I think that happens as a result of pain, and it was very important to touch on that because, like you said, it's always like he did something, but
Mhm.
sometimes we hurt men too. Yeah.
Your cover of Harlem Blues.
Yes, yes. I love Harlem Blues. I've loved it since I was a little girl. I have wanted to cover it my entire career. There's certain songs I wanted to cover my entire career. That's one of them. Um, Kissing a Fool by George Michael. We talked
Mm.
about that album. That's another one. I did Kissing a Fool like back in 2000. I don't know. I don't remember one of my previous albums, but it ended up not fitting the body of work, and I'm a real stickler for that. Like it could be my favorite song that I recorded, but if it doesn't fit the body of work, I'll cross it off, even if it's my favorite, because it's so important for me for albums to be cohesive. And I was really upset about that, Kissing a Fool, and I've always said to myself, oh, you have to figure out another place to put it on a different album. But Harlem Blues is another one of those songs, just like Kissing a Fool. I've always wanted to record it, and I was determined that this would be the album that it would fit on and that it would be on. And it's interesting. The album goes so many different places musically. It's very diverse. But when Harlem Blues comes in, it somehow makes sense with,
Mhm.
it somehow makes sense. I think it comes on like after Light Up, like which is like
Mm.
being Ghostface, and then you have Harlem Blues with this beautiful saxophone intro. Like they really have nothing to do with each other, but the out with the whole album, it makes sense somehow. So I love that song, and it was important for me to stay true to the original version. We pretty much stripped it down, and my vocal is pretty true to Cinda Williams' vocal. I didn't do too many different things. maybe a little run here, a little run there differently. But I stayed true to her version and paid homage to the version that I love, you know. So, and people have really um, been responding to it in this very positive way. So it just feels good that people love that song, you know, just as much as I do, and they're happy with what I did with it, which is really cool.
I heard a clarity in the lyrics. I heard words that I hadn't heard before. I didn't know that's what she was
Oh,
saying.
really?
So I think that you articulated in a way that
Uh-huh.
is clear.
Oh, thanks.
Um, so that was my impression of it. And was it a hard song to sing? Is my question.
No, I've been singing it my whole life. Yeah, like so. No, I used to sing it in talent shows, like as a teenager. Like I sang it like a lot. Like not, you know, my the fans of my, you know, my work as an artist may not know that, but yes, I've sang it a lot of times. So it really wasn't difficult to record it. It was really nice and fun to record, and I love jazz music. Just jazz is one of my loves, one of my first loves. So I love jazz, period. So it's always fun and refreshing to record a jazz song because it's totally different than making an R&B record with 1,000 backgrounds and layering and all that stuff. It just goes away with jazz. So it was really nice. It was nice to do. I loved it.
You
And
said
Mike
you
Phillips
oh,
is
go ahead.
incredible on it. So I loved that feature as well.
You said you want well, you did record Kissing a Fool. But for some reason, not to tell you what to do, but for some reason I hear you singing Kissing a Fool.
Yeah, so this is what happened with the song. It's like it gets more complicated. So my friend, my girlfriend, her name is Lauren Talese. She's a jazz singer, and the producer, who's Adam Blackstone, who's a really who's probably like one of the most popular music directors
Hmm.
right now.
Justin Timberlake's music director, I think, too.
Yeah, and so many other people. So yeah,
Hmm.
Justin's, Nicki Minaj, is like so many people, like all the so many people, like the pop stars. Like he's like the
Hmm.
MD, many of them, and then he produces music for television as well. So BT Awards, or the Grammys, or anything on TV, like he's probably behind it. So Adam has been a friend of mine for a very long time. And like I said, we did this back in, I want to say it might have been 2005, honestly.
Mm.
So yeah, I just didn't think it fit well on the Vivian album. But Lauren, who went to college with Adam, and it's also, we're all friends. She recorded it for her debut album, Gorgeous Chaos. So Adam sent me the song, and my voice was on there, and he took my voice off of half of it and put Lauren's on there and kind of turned it into a duet.
Hmm.
So so what happened was, it is a song on her debut album, Gorgeous Chaos now. And now I feel like, well, now that she has it, I don't know if I want to put it on my album because now it's, you know, it's kind of hers now. But it features me, so that's what happened because Adam produced her album. So you can actually pull it up on YouTube and find it because it's out there.
I will. I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
I noticed there are Caribbean flavors, sounds on your album. Is that part of your heritage, or that's just a sound that you really love?
Yeah, I think it's a sound that Kwame and I both really, really love. Unfortunately, I have not done my 23andMe, so I don't know where
Hmm.
I'm from, or if I have, you know, family there, which is highly likely because the ship stopped at a couple places.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that next.
Exactly. So, so I don't know, but I've always loved it. I love Lovers Rock, you know, which I love Sade. She does a lot of Lovers Rock music. I love, and Kwam loves it as well. So we just with this love and we are everywhere. We just wanted to go there because it's just fantastic music, you know, and we both have very diverse tastes, and we don't want to just do one thing where every song sounds the same. So
Before we get to We Are Everywhere, talk about working with Kwame and why he is the right producer for you at this time as an artist.
Kwam, he he balances me out. You know, I'm the kind of um I'm the kind of artist who always wants to follow her heart. You know, we talked about, you know, George Michael and this Wiz Chems is behind me. I love theater. I love Broadway. I love Aerosmith. I love Ella Fitzgerald. I love Diana Ross. I love Aretha. I love everything. So I always want to do everything. And Quam has an understanding of like the business side of music and how whatever we do, we still want people to be able to relate to. And like you said, maybe people don't know the father figure tag at the end of You Send Me because they don't know, they're not familiar with that album or George Michael. So he's like, yeah, you love that, but somebody else may not get this. So let me bring you back to the center. And he's fantastic at bringing me back to the center with whatever idea I have, where it's still true to me, but whatever he does around it will make sure that it's centered and it's not going to be something that people feel like they can't relate to, which has happened to me on previous albums, honestly. Like, oh, I wasn't feeling her on this beautiful album. It was too pop in some places or whatever. So he always brings it back. He's great at that. And that's why I think he is just a fantastic person for me to work with, because him having been an artist and transitioning into a producer, and it's just a lot of wisdom there, a lot of mistakes that he made that he wouldn't want to see me make, and just being a part of music for such a long time and seeing all the trends and all the different places that it's gone. He has a very, very fantastic perspective on what is good music, what is music that stands the test of time, and what people want at that moment. Like, he's just great with that, and I suck at all those things. Because like I said, I always just want to do what I want to do, whatever that is. And he's like, no, that's cool, but let's bring it here.
When I heard where we are, or where you are, excuse me,
Uh-huh.
it sounded, you were talking about him bringing you to center and bringing you to where music is now. I feel like that song is very current. It sounds like the ambient R&B that we're starting to hear from some of the newer artists now. I felt that was my first impression of it, that
Oh,
that record feels very now.
thank you. Yeah, well, I think a lot of I think Where You Are is probably one of the more soulful records, if not the most soulful one on the album. And I think a lot of the newer, younger artists are going back to
Mhm.
that, like, that soul resurgence that happened, started in the late 90s or maybe even mid 90s and went on through the 2000s. I think they relate to that and they're tapping into that. So yeah, everything always comes back around, right?
You talked about the ship stopping in different places. It's
Yeah.
kind of a prelude to the actual prelude, the conversation with your son over dishes, and the
Uh-huh.
song "We Are Everywhere." Talk about that, please.
Yeah, sure. So I feel that Americans in general, like no matter what your race is or culture is, we can be a little bit self-righteous, a little bit, because we're told we're the best country on earth and everything revolves around us, and and we kind of can have this air about us. And I think when it comes to the transatlantic slave trade, that a lot of people don't understand that most of the slaves did not come here. But you can probably ask someone on the street, they may say most of them came here and some went to the Caribbean. It's like, yeah, that's
Hmm.
not right. Most did not come here. So let's talk about those major slave ports, and then other places where slaves dispersed to once they stopped there. So I named like all the major slave ports, the ones that I knew and the ones that I needed to research to make sure I was accurate, and then the places that we would have gone to from there, and just to show that it affected so many people in so many parts of this side of the world. And we should never feel like whatever struggle we're dealing with here is just here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just in the United States. And I feel that sometimes we 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 are that way, where there are never going to be more people here, more black people here than that are in Brazil, as almost half the slaves from the trade went there. And we never talk about their struggles. We
Mm-mm.
barely talk about going there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it's just not a conversation that we have. And so I just wanted to open up that broader conversation of the trade, the triangle trade, and the many different places that we ended up as a result of it, places besides just here. But of course, I named the major ports here too. I named New Orleans and Charleston and Baltimore. So, I try to cover all the big major ports through North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean, of course.
Which came first, the conversation or the song?
The conversation actually came first because Jordan was learning about this in school. Yeah, he was learning about it in school. Now, of course, there was a reenactment of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was learning about it in school, and so that's kind of where it all came from. Yeah, which is really cool. Like his school taught him a lot more about slavery than what I was taught when I was in school. So I think that's the education is getting better, than what it was, because yeah, there would be like one like small chapter that's like 2 pages long on the slave trade. And then that would be it. But so it is getting better. I will say that just based on his school's curriculum. So
Speaking of your son, last time we talked to you, you were working on, I believe, is I Am Human campaign. Did I have that right?
yeah,
Are
I
you
am human. Mm-hmm.
are you still working with that or any other particular organization or foundation on
I
behalf of kids with special needs?
I am still working on that. It's just my goodness, much harder to do than what you think when you
Mm-hmm.
have the idea. And so, yeah, I wanted it to launch. I think at the beginning of 2017. So we're definitely a couple years behind in that, and it's something that I'm really not happy about. So, hopefully, we can get everything underway the way I want it to be in 2020, and I mean 2021. Sorry. And Jordan is 16 now, so he's really excited about being involved in it
Mm.
more than he would have been, 3, 4 years ago. So yeah.
This is your seventh album. Did you think, A, you would make it to 7 albums? And B, what do you think is not just the evolution, but the differences between the first album and the seventh album and where you are now in this journey?
Yeah. Did I think maybe I hoped I would make it to 7 albums, but there's definitely been times when I questioned, whether that I would. So it's really nice, and I just feel very grateful to say that I've been doing this for this long, and I've never had to do anything else. That's just really fantastic, and something that I'm very grateful for, and I again do not take for granted ever. Um, and then also like I when I think about it, I say to myself, wow, where did all this time go? Like it doesn't even feel like 18 years. And I have to like go back like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It's really been this long. It's like it just like it almost feels like it happened overnight. Like the way time is very, very interesting. It really, really does fly. So the difference between the beginning and now, oh my gosh, it's so different. Uh, from my second album on out, I made a point to be, I demanded of myself and everybody around me, like that I be true to myself. I didn't want to get caught up in trends, whether it's sounds on records, sounds on tracks, or the way I look. I don't want to get caught up in anything like that because I got caught up in that first time. And when I decided to correct those things, many people hated it. It's like I was expected to be like this neo soul, singer like forever, and um, it it was not an honest example of who I am, musically. And I think when you're really young and you know there's a certain trend in music and the producers are submitting things that sound a certain way, and you just write to them because you don't know that there's going to be this expectation of you in the future, and then the stylist dresses you a certain way, and you think it's cool. You don't know that people are going to hold you to that.
Mm.
um, and I suffered because of it, but at the same time I was determined once again to be myself despite whatever happened, because I could not you know pretend to be somebody that I'm just not. And even like with my first album, it was very interesting because there's songs like Final Hour, Affected, Superwoman that are nowhere near being neo or anything, but like people just threw me in the category, and then that was it, and it was like, wow. So it was important for me from album 2 to 7 to be who I am, which is many different things musically, and to just follow my heart when I'm creating and not let myself fall into a trend or anything like that, or allow someone to put something on me that I would never really wear in real life. And then have to somehow answer for it later. So that was probably the most important lesson that I learned in music. It was something that affected me, adversely, but it was important to me once again to be myself no matter what happened. And I'm just proud of myself for sticking to that. I always say I have like two sets of fans. There's like a love
Mm.
story fans, and then there are the fans who totally loved and appreciated Vivian and the things that I did after that. And you know, that's a real thing. It's a true thing. I know it. Like I know it to be a fact. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the ALS fans. They just can't come to my concert and think I'm going to do my whole first album when I have
Oh
7.
wow. It's a struggle for artists who have been in the industry for a long time, because when you try to introduce a new song on stage, you can just kind of see the fans like freeze, and
Yeah.
then they reanimate when you go back to the very first jam, and it's kind of unfair. It doesn't always allow room for an artist to grow
Yeah,
and
it
or
really
change or be creative.
Yeah, like I dealt with that for a long time, and but like I said, I have my faithfuls, the ones who have kept me going. They always love the new things that I do, and I just have to take it all in stride and understand what happened and accept that, because I do, and just keep it moving.
Definitely don't stop doing what you're doing. Vivian Green, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Best of everything with your new album.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
very welcome. And then hopefully next year, so we can see you performing.
Yeah.
Hopefully, before you go, shout it out. What that means is tell everyone all things Vivian Green, where we can get the new album, Love Absolute, where we can follow you on social media, if you have a website, anything else like that, streaming concerts, all things Vivian Green.
Okay, fantastic. So you can follow me on social media at I am Vivian Green. That's everything across the board: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. My website is viviangreenmusic.com. You can, the website and every social media page has a link in the bio to all of the platforms that you can stream Love Absolute on, which is all of them. So you can go to them on your own too, but you can go to my music directly from the links on my website and my social media pages. I do keep my fans abreast of what's going on in my career life online. So if you follow me on one of those mediums, you will totally know what I'm doing and where I'm going to be and all those things. When we start touring again, I always post that stuff as well. So as long as you follow me, you'll know where I am and what I'm doing.
Vivian Green, Grown Folks Music. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me and for always supporting me. I really appreciate it.
You're
Peace and
very
love.
welcome. All the best.
Bye.
Bye bye.
grownfolksmusic.com